let's find a good old podcast. Drive through, no. Something to wrestle, no. Insight, no. Rasslin Report? What is this?
Hello, I would like to take you on a journey into the world of professional wrestling. This is the Rasslin Report. Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rasslin Report, where I talk nothing but my passion, and that's wrestling. I'm your host, John Ailes, and I'd like to thank you all very much for joining me again on this lovely Monday morning. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, these weeks are getting bigger and bigger. The stories are getting more and more told. Drama is escalating more and more. I believe that we've, in this week, set up 2 or 3 potential matches for WrestleMania. So that's exciting. We're building this card as the weeks progress. This mega card amongst 2 nights. So we got some great stuff with CM Punk and Roman Reigns. When they are together, it's a pretty important thing to have happen due to the fact that Roman's not there every week, right? So we'll talk about that. We have, I believe, an open challenge acceptance, if you will, from a certain ruler, which I will get into probably here in a few minutes. And then, of course, Randy Orton. We have to figure out what the hell went into Randy Orton's mind attacking Cody Rhodes in the vicious manner in which he did. We'll talk about exactly what went through his head, the voices, if you will, and what's going to happen from here. So, at least with the Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes situation. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go on ahead and get this thing rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Brock Lesnar and Obafemi stuff. I'll get into how that kind of started. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and kick off the show in general. Because this is what opened the show. And it wasn't just Oba and Brock Lesnar. So Seth Rollins comes out. You know, he's for weeks been trying to liberate the WWE or the fans of the vision, the very thing in which he created, due to them, of course, viciously turning on him. And Seth's just coming back, and he said he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop on this blood path until all the vision's gone, no matter who's on the shelf and who's not on the shelf. He says he took physical and mental pride in putting out Paul Heyman with a stomp a few weeks ago that sent him to the ambulance. Seth Rollins' purpose now is to make Paul Heyman's life an absolute living hell, as if Paul Heyman's life, for the most part, in the professional wrestling business, Paul Heyman is just, he's screwed, you know. Seth is going to stay on him forever, he said, until Paul Heyman's cut out of this business like the cancer that he says he is. So Paul Heyman takes all these words. He's not too happy about it. So he summons Brock Lesnar, his client, and he comes storming out, lays out some of Seth's hooded figures, and then we get a face-to-face confrontation between the two. But before anything could happen, the lights turn out, and we hear Obafemi's music. So this is how we get Obafemi involved, and Oba just gives Brock this massive powerbomb. I don't think I've ever seen Brock Lesnar powerbomb quite like that. Maybe I'd have to really do some deep dive deep dive research. Maybe Big Show did it. Maybe Mark Henry. I don't know. I don't know who could have exactly power bombed Brock Lesnar. There, you cannot name many. The point is, this was a huge moment. Uh, Brock Brock's facial reactions when Oba came out sold it completely that this is a new threat that I am not ready for. Throughout the years, man, we see Brock Lesnar as a guy who's not afraid of anybody, and he's got a good chance against anybody. It doesn't matter. But when we looked into his eyes, it looked like for a second there was doubt. There was doubt in this beast who's dominated the company for so long. And he just sees this young destroyer ready to just wreak havoc. And he doesn't care. Roba's going to go against the biggest dog in the pride. Man, he's going to mess him up. He's going to mess him up. So, lays out Brock Lesnar, and I would assume that this is Oba Femi accepting Brock's open challenge for WrestleMania. So we will be potentially seeing Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar, which is what I think a majority of the fans really wanted to see. This is your two Goliaths clashing. This is your unstoppable force and immovable object type of match that can really deliver and make a absolute future star out of Oba Femi. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for what this match is going to do for not only Oba, but even potentially for Brock. I just think it's beneficial for everybody involved, really. But another interesting highlight of the night was when Becky Lynch and Bayley came to clash for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. If you recall, last week, Bayley won this opportunity by winning a women's gauntlet match for the number one contender spot. So this match was really good. As you would expect, between two legends of the business, there was no realistic avenue I would imagine Bayley being Intercontinental Champion in. So, she gave AJ Lee a great match, and that's what you got to do. But what really, I guess, sells this match and sells the narrative going forward is that after Becky, or not Becky, I'll get into Becky. Becky's involved in this. AJ Lee ends up defeating Bayley for the Intercontinental Championship. She retains her title. She's holding the title up on the top turnbuckle. And as she's going back to the backstage area, Becky Lynch comes out. And she starts laying her out, starts attacking her. This is the first time I believe we've seen her since Elimination Chamber, since she lost it. So, it was obvious all along that this was eventually going to lead up to WrestleMania because of the fact that it's been months, right? You usually save a more fleshed out, more drawn out story over a course of a few months. You usually save those. Those are like your high profile feuds. Those are your big time matches. And WWE obviously sees Becky Lynch and AJ Lee as a big time match, which it is. Anybody who's complaining about them going a third time is a little silly, considering there have been literal months in between. So it'd be one thing if we had like Natty and Maxine Dupree, which at this point is getting a little silly. They've been going on a few weeks in a row, same match, same winner, same outcome. Like I don't know where we're going with that, but this is different. This has been building since AJ's come back, which has probably been around, I don't know, October of last year. I can't remember exactly when, but it's been going on for about half a year. Let's just say half a year for safety. So there's something going on, and this has been told out for a long period of time. So I like where we're going, and I just hope probably that this will end at WrestleMania. We can build some major stuff to culminate this feud, because I think in time people will appreciate this Becky Lynch and AJ Lee saga, because it's been really good. I think AJ needs to be there a little more to build this thing. And so does Becky. They both need to. Starting next week, we need a brawl. We need something to like up the ante. The ante's been upped. Now we gotta up it more. So I'm excited to see where they go with Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. And yeah, I have a feeling we'll get the two of them at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. I just don't know what night. We don't really know. We don't really ever know what night things are until they put it out. But I can probably tell you the match that will main event night 2. The match that will main event the whole King Caboodle. It's Roman Reigns and CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. And so they've had another face-to-face confrontation. And this one was a lot better than the last one. That doesn't mean the last one was bad. It just means that they have found a way to up the ante of their promos. Their promos have gotten better. I think that this thing has every bit of potential to be the match of the night, the match of the whole entire show. These two guys just absolutely laid into one another. So basically, CM Punk and Roman Reigns got into it. And CM Punk calls out Roman Reigns really for what happened last week, right? He had his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, come out to try to get Punk to apologize for the comments he made about Roman's father. And, typical stubborn Punk fashion, he ended up getting it punched out of him. And Punk said that that was valid, but Roman Reigns wasn't the guy to deliver the message. He always has to send someone else to do Roman Reigns' bidding. Punk believes that Roman Reigns has a hard time doing anything by himself. And Roman responds by saying that Punk's insults are repetitive. I mean, for 5 years, people have been saying the same thing. That Roman Reigns always needs his family's help. Look at the bloodline. Look at all the history with that, right? Roman always had his family near him to help him. And Roman's tired of hearing that. And in his mind, it's bullshit, right? Because he's done more than that. He's helped his confidence like tenfold. His confidence is 10 times more than we remember in like 2016 and 2017. So when it comes to character work and the ability to connect with the fans, Roman Reigns has done a complete 180. And I believe he rides off that fact that the WWE fans love him, which we do. But it doesn't negate the fact that he's had help over the years. And I don't know, I guess Roman probably mentally is trying to change that narrative, right? He's trying to start winning more on his own. He ended up beating Bronson Reed on his own back at Clash. So I think he's trying to like build a new narrative around him. And as long as the stigma of the past and being the tribal chief that would do whatever it would take to win, I think that part is starting to shift. And so that's why he probably takes so much offense to when Punk says that he's not capable of winning on his own. So at this point, like, both guys have gotten into each other's heads mentally. Even though they both claim that they are not in the other's head, they're both in each other's head. And it's obvious that you can tell in the body language. And you can tell the body language of Roman Reigns, especially when he's like rolling his eyes and he's looking irritated. But I can tell you why Punk got upset, or why Punk, it's clearly got Roman in his head. Roman finishes this whole entire promo war. I won't even say promo battle. It's more like a promo war by saying that Punk is a tryhard who makes everyone else look bad because he's old. And that was it. Like, immediately after he said that, Punk just lays him out with a fist to the face. He's left smiling on the floor because he knows what he did. He knows exactly what he did. He got Punk to react in that way. He got Punk to to not act cool in that moment. And that's what Roman wanted. He wanted a momentary lapse. And so he got that momentary lapse. Oh, man, this thing's going to get good. Even better. This thing's going to get even better. At this point, it brings me back to my point about the Becky Lynch and AJ stuff. I think if this thing had one major brawl, eventually, because I imagine we'll get there, that'll really sell this thing. I mean, we've really gotten personal with this. I guess as long as, both parties are okay with what's being said on the air. But we've gotten really deep with this stuff. So I'm excited to see where this continues to go. And honestly, bro, I think the match and the momentum is more favored towards Roman right now. Not that Punk's doing a bad job, but like when I'm looking at the product, it seems like WWE's trying to give more of an advantage towards Roman Reigns, trying to give more of a momentum swing behind Roman Reigns in this moment. Like it feels like Punk is kind of fighting upwards, trying to retain his title. He's not level with somebody. I feel like this is going to be Punk's biggest challenge, and I'm not sure if Punk is completely aware of that yet until WrestleMania. So this might be bold, but I don't. Maybe Roman walks out of WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion. If things keep building up towards Roman Reigns being able to, get CM Punk to act like this, like he's got him in his head, point blank period, and it's an advantage. And so I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I like what they've done though, and I'll have to see where we go from here. Uh, but overall, like this Raw cooked. We even got the El Grande Americano 1 versus 2 match, and maybe that'll reach a conclusion at WrestleMania too. I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure if the El Grandes will end up getting a match. I don't know, but they did get a match on Raw, so I don't know. Uh, this was just a solid show. I mean, delivered where it needed to, and we're firmly on the road to WrestleMania on the Red brand. Um, Liv Morgan, Stephanie McHair's stuff is heating up too, and we're all going in the right direction, and that's all we need to have. But then we move on to Friday Night SmackDown, and this thing was chaotic from the word go. We start the show with a big ass brawl with Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. This has been brewing for weeks, and after weeks of being screwed, there's no going back for either one of these guys. Fatu has screwed McIntyre out of his championship. Drew has screwed Fatu out of multiple title opportunities. These two have gotten in each other's way professionally and personally, and so this has to be settled. And I imagine that's another match we'll get at WrestleMania on top of Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. I imagine we'll have Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu maybe in a Sin City Street fight again. I don't know. As they did with Damian Priest last year. But Drew's scathing off. He's sick and tired of this crap. He's already tried quitting. He's been suspended by Aldis. He's not going to leave. He's not going to stop until he has Jacob Fatu's head on a spike. And man, oh man, Jacob Fatu feels that same way. So as long as the feeling's mutual, these two it's going to be on site. And this thing was just chaotic. Fatu's hitting splashes on the tables. It's throwing McIntyre on the stairs. This thing really kicks off. And yeah, this feud in one night has went from 0 to 100. And I think a lot of the fans who saw that feel the same way. Like this thing has just gotten so much better. And yeah, we need like a I don't know what we need with these two. We need a promo. See, they need the opposite. I think we need a face to face between Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, where they're just like allowed to spit whatever shit they want at each other. Like the exact opposite of what we need with the other stuff. The other stuff just needs the physicality, the brawls, crazy shit, like this one does. So, and I believe they'll get there. Both guys are phenomenal on the mic, so I don't imagine that there will be really any issues there. But this thing kicked off the show with a bang, and it ended the show with a bang. I'll get into that. We have new World Tag Team Champions. Solo Sikoa and the MFTs were dethroned of their World Tag Team titles, but it's not who you would think. It's not the Wyatt Six, who have been feuding with them for weeks. However, they weren't involved until later on in this match, but I mean, I'll get into that. But over the last few weeks, WWE have been building up Damian Priest and R-Truth as like a buddy kind of friendship, and now it's turned into a tag team. And Triple H has really been pushing them week after week, winning big matches, and seemingly out of the thin air, they've become tag team champions. I love R-Truth, right? Anybody who's watched wrestling a little bit longer than a decade knows R-Truth and loves R-Truth. I cannot find R-Truth hater. You'll have to find me one because I can't find one. Damian Priest, I mean, this is good for him because I've been wondering what they're gonna do with Damian Priest. He's kind of been around in limbo since the Aleister Black stuff. He hasn't really been doing much, so I'm glad that they've given him something that he can roll with R-Truth, who's already a natural comedy genius. It's just a great pairing, and I'm excited to see where it can go. And it's also funny given their history with each other back in like 2023 or 2024, where Truth was trying to join the Judgment Day, where Priest was still on the Judgment Day, and Priest used to hate R-Truth, but now they love each other. Now they're buddies. Now they're tag team champions. So I'm excited to see where this can go for them. Very excited. We then have Sami Zayn and Aleister Black. So this is another very interesting little bit. Sami Zayn has been spiraling for the last few weeks. We've seen it. After almost any conversation that he's had with someone backstage, sometimes it's ended up, a little heated, sometimes not. But every time afterward, Sammy's throwing shit, crashing around. He's crashing out every week. And so Aleister Black, who is this harbinger of chaos, I'll get into that in a second. A lot of the fans have pointed this out, but the character of Aleister Black and Zelina is heavily similar to the characters of Karrion Kross and Scarlett, who are no longer a part of the company. And what I mean by that, the similarities are that Aleister Black seems to be trying his absolute best mentally to get into the head of people to make them start thinking things that they otherwise wouldn't be thinking, offer different perspectives. This is what Karrion Kross would used to do. And sometimes it would work. People would turn heel, people would show their more darker side. I think that's ultimately what characters like Karrion Kross and Aleister Black want to do. And so Aleister Black has been targeting Sami Zayn because he knows Sami is in a vulnerable spot right now. He's weighing a lot of different emotions in his head, in his brain. And so Aleister's just trying to seep in there and try to get him to say and do things he wouldn't otherwise do. But anyway, so Sammy's tired of Aleister. He wants to have a match, and they have a match. But as this match goes on, Trick Williams comes out, and Trick Williams has been getting under Sami Zayn's skin for weeks, calling him Mr. Can't Get It Done on every occasion with his lemon pepper steppers, and throwing water at him. Trick Williams has been a problem for Sami Zayn, and I don't know if he'll end up being the catalyst for the heel turn. I'm not sure, but I would imagine at this point, Sami Zayn heel turn is about inevitable because as Trick splashed the water on Sami just unloaded on him. He just loaded rage and all kinds of other stuff. And Aleister Black comes in and lays him out with a kick, Black Mass kick to the face, and gets the win on him. So Sami Zayn's been catching L's week after week. He's not in a good place, and I imagine it's gonna blow up somewhere at some point. Based off of what we've seen with Randy Orton, it's only a matter of time. Sami, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry that this is all happening. We then get to Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill, who have been talking and talking for weeks on Twitter or in the ring. And Rhea Ripley, who is, who I think is probably going to win the title. Rhea Ripley is tired of talking. She is tired of tweeting. She looks at Jade Cargill right in the face and says, I am tired of talking. I would like to fight. And so she even gives Jade the courtesy of letting Jade get the first swing in. But Jade says she don't got the time for that. She's not gonna do all that because WrestleMania is not that far away. And she doesn't need wrestling like how Rhea needs wrestling. Before wrestling, she was that bitch, and after wrestling, she'll be that bitch. Okay. I mean, damn, bro. But yeah, Rhea's so sick and tired of it at this point. And so Jade says, I don't got the time for this no more. Leaves the ring. But Meechin and B-Fab come out. The tag team of the year with the kendo stick and all. And, as they look like they're about to corner Jade Cargill into either dealing with the two of them or going to Rhea Ripley. But here's a turn. It actually comes to find out that Meechin and B-Fab just turned heel on Rhea Ripley and have aligned themselves with Jade Cargill after weeks and weeks of being attacked by Jade Cargill. I guess their mentality was, if you cannot beat her, then join her. Honestly, best move they could have done. Otherwise, I don't know where they're going. At least now with Jade Cargill, a champion presence, this might change my view on things, but it might not, right? Because Rhea Ripley has Io Sky too to help. They're besties. But I think that for the benefit of Meechin and B-Fab's entire careers, doing this was probably the best option. Because other than that, they weren't doing much, right? They were hanging out backstage. They weren't even getting TV time at the time. Maybe now that they're with Jade Cargill, they'll have more TV time, and we'll get to see them more. But I'm intrigued to an extent. I just think it needs to amp up a little more. I think they will. I think all these will. We still have another, I don't know, a few weeks or so. So there's time. But then we get to Jelly Roll and Kit Wilson. Jelly Roll's been showing up quite a lot. He showed up last week on SmackDown, and he showed up the week before. But this time, tonight, he showed up under different circumstances in a different mood, and he left the night in a different circumstance and in a different mood. So Jelly Roll on SmackDown tried to talk to Randy Orton. He tried to talk to Randy Orton because, Randy's obviously hit a point where he's not quite happy. I'll get into that later, but Jelly Roll and Kit Wilson have like a little slam poetry contest in the middle of the ring, and it was really entertaining. Kit Wilson was talking about how like Jelly Rolls used Ozempic, and now he's able to see his wee wee because he's lost all that weight. And then Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll talking about how his mom already for him. So you need to look at it, and then it got silly. It got like middle school roast. Well, your mom did that. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So it was silly. Got it got silly, but ultimately, Kit Wilson lays out Jelly Roll, gives him a little punch, not beats him up, and again, I feel like Jelly Roll's gonna get himself involved in WrestleMania somehow. And I imagine it's with Kit Wilson. Maybe it'll be him and Kit Wilson in a while. I don't know. Kit Wilson needs a match at WrestleMania. That's all I know. Book him for a match. I dare you, Hunter. I dare you. You got how many matches you can book on a card for WrestleMania? Probably like 10 to 12 across both nights. Book Kit Wilson. You would do yourself a favor. You really would. You would do the company a favor. You do the fans a favor. Um, then we really get into like the main event of the week, the real meat of this entire story, and that's Randy Orton. Um, on Raw, actually, we got like a little recorded message from Randy saying that he wasn't gonna explain his actions, but wait till SmackDown. But what was really intriguing was that he was on a phone call with somebody. And we don't know who this person is, but this person apparently reminded Randy Orton of exactly the guy who he is at his best, I guess, which is his sadistic 2009 side. But anyway, that was Raw. I don't know who the person on the phone could be, or if they'll end up, making an appearance. It could be anybody. It could be anybody. So Ric Flair is like my number one bet. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. We'll have to see who exactly called Randy Orton and why. Somebody who had to have a history with Randy Orton. Maybe John Cena. Maybe he called John Cena and was like, "Hey, bro, I copied your heel turn plan from last year, and it's working out great. Um, you know, isn't this the Randy Orton that you remember?" "Oh yeah, Randy, it's the Randy that I remembered." Anyway, I'm getting silly. So now we're on SmackDown, and Randy's sitting in the middle of the ring, uh, with the shirt with the blood still on it from last week. And you can tell it's not real. I love this company, but you can tell it's not real blood because it's not dried up yet. Anyway, Randy goes in the ring, and he says that he's been mentally kind of weighing out if he's still that guy, if he's still that apex predator, that Viper, that 14-time world champion. Because over the last few years, when it comes to like a big title match, he's always kind of fell short, whether it be against Gunther or Cody Rhodes. Guys, I think they actually no, maybe they haven't touched yet. WWE has intentionally tried to not have them fight yet for this very reason, for this very match. But anyway, I'll get into that later. He says that Cody reminded him that he needed to be the best version of himself possible. And I guess Randy Orton is really, really, really wanting to be that 15-time world champion. He realizes that he's got a legacy to reserve. He understands that he's still got time to beat John Cena's historic 17th mark. I mean, it would have to take some crazy booking, but Randy Orton could realistically break the all-time record that we thought was already unbreakable. And that's, I would imagine, what Randy's going to try and go for. Matt Cardona comes out, and he was kind of a victim of Randy Orton's voices in his head. And he tries to, give him some reason and try to remind him of the guy who's changed since 2009. But Randy didn't want to hear that. He asks Randy to apologize to him over some pretty mean comments. And Randy Orton's like, all right, I apologize. I'm going to apologize for not only that, but for attacking Cody Rhodes. And when it comes time, I'm going to apologize to Cody as well. So not only is Randy trying to be talked into apologizing to Cody Rhodes, but people are just trying to get the chill Randy back. The chill Randy that came back in 2023, not this psychotic version. But Randy wasn't going to have none of it. And he kicks Matt Cardona in the nuts and hits him with an RKO and proceeds to wrap a chair around his arm and stomp it out. So Randy Orton put Matt Cardona on the shelf, quote unquote, maybe with an arm. I mean, this is the Randy Orton we're looking for. The every time Randy talks to somebody, it ends with Randy laying them out and injuring them. That is a scary Randy Orton that Cody Rhodes ought to just be terrified of. I would be terrified. If you've seen Randy Orton in person, I haven't. But apparently, he is just one big motherfucker. He's tall and he's jacked. I wouldn't want him as an adult. I don't care how old you are, bro. But anyway, this was a very good way of continuing to build this character of Randy Orton that is diving back into those old elements of his character, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting stuff every time. And I can't wait till Cody comes back and starts selling it on his end. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was SmackDown. SmackDown was crazy, man. SmackDown even ended with Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu still brawling, and with McIntyre falling off production sets. Like, I don't know. The company's starting to cook again. I'm really freaking happy about that. The problem is, I feel like they only try to cook around WrestleMania, and then once WrestleMania is gone, I feel like then we're like in limbo trying to pick up the pieces. But I'm really happy with what we're getting right now. I don't think as of right now there's no match I want to miss on the card. And if any of the matches I've just predicted or have gone over here on this episode are predicted for WrestleMania, then it's going to be a pretty good WrestleMania, right? Overall. So I think SmackDown kind of delivered overall this week, because I think that they do have an extra hour, so that gives them some more time if they tell some great stuff. Gives them more material to, I don't know. But it also just delivered better where it counted. I think the most people are interested in right now is Randy Orton. That's like the talk of the town right now is Randy Orton. So that's what I really wanted to focus on this week. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'll go ahead and kick off into our last segment, which is News Break.
Ooh, it's the Rasslin Report. News break time, yeah!
Alright, so this is our top developing story of the week that has maybe reached its conclusion. This has been a story that's gone on for a little bit of time, but Ted DiBiase Jr., former WWE superstar and son of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase Sr., was found not guilty this week over facing 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 2 counts of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 4 counts of money laundering. And the trial lasted for over several weeks and involved a lot of testimony. I will share his tweet, his response. I'm not knowledgeable enough on the subject. I've been following the court case and know what he's kind of been accused of, but I don't know the extent of how it was done supposedly. I haven't done the extensive research, if I'm being honest. But the main point here is that for the majority of this trial, I mean, we pretty much had an idea that Ted DiBiase did these things, and it was just a matter of getting sentenced for those things. But now it turns out maybe that he didn't. I'm not fully knowledgeable. All I know is that he was found not guilty, and I don't know what this means for his future. Now that he's able to focus on something else other than a courtroom, I don't know. Maybe he'll come back to wrestling. I don't know. Maybe WWE doesn't even want to touch him right now. I don't know. Don't let me get started on that. But overall, if he's not guilty, he's not guilty, and I have to do more research to really get a firm idea on that one. Second story that came out of the day was that Tony Khan and AEW, apparently when WWE was going for sale in like 2022, 2023, it was reported here that AEW tried to throw their name in the hat to try to purchase the company. Which, I mean, isn't surprising to me. Their billionaires will try to buy things that they can afford. But the thing is, I'm sure there was a higher bidder. There's always a higher bidder. And I guess if the universe aligned a certain way, the Khans could have bought out WWE. I don't know, it's been like a crazy role reversal, from when WWE bought out WCW. But it didn't end up happening. TKO ended up with a higher bid, but that's interesting. That's super, super interesting to know. That would have changed wrestling forever, and it would have definitely eliminated the idea of an alternative in the business. Just would have. And now for our final story, and this one is one that comes just recently, and it comes out of Alberto Del Dipshit, aka Alberto Del Rio. He, I guess, tried to box last night or a couple nights ago, and it ended poorly. Not because he lost the fight or because it was a great fight, but it was just short. He's in controversy because he was trying to fight the officials on the other guy's camp, and he was causing problems in like the first few rounds of the fight, and he left. He left boxing. He just got into boxing, and meanwhile he's wearing headgear in the ring. But he left immediately. Now, this guy is just all over the place mentally. He must be, to be fighting people all the time. There must be something mentally there that's not clicking. But he always finds himself involved in some sort of controversy that ends up in him physically beating someone up. Thankfully, it wasn't a girl this time. So, you can be happy with that, at least. You can at least say he tried to beat up some guys. Not a girl this time. He's just the worst. And I don't know how he continues to get opportunities. I don't know how they're continuing to give him a platform, because he just continues to do stupid shit. So, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I don't know. I'm just so tired of hearing stuff about him. Like, it's clear that unless he's not trying to change himself. Like, he's the same guy he was about a decade ago or so when we were talking about him beating up Paige. Like, that's what I mean. Like, from 2017-16 to now, it does not seem like Alberto Del Dipshit has changed at all in that time period. It's crazy. It is wild. He just doesn't, he shouldn't be getting opportunities anymore. Point blank, period. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on that rant, I'll go on ahead and wrap up the Rasslin Report. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining me, and I would like to see you all next week's episode, baby.